There's been a flurry of attention to unidentified aerial objects spotted over the US and Canada lately, including a spy balloon identified coming from China. In 2010, unidentified cylindrical objects swarmed Chinese airports, and some claimed they were US made. Let's explore. Hi everyone, and welcome to Project Bluebook, where we explore all things unidentified. I am Thor, and thanks for tuning in. At the time this episode was finished and uploaded, there was no available explanation for 3 unidentified aerial objects shot down over Canadian Yukon Territory, near Lake Huron, Michigan, and over Alaska in a span of 3 days, each seemingly without means of self-propulsion and deemed non-threatening, but hazardous to civil aviation, usually on the west and easterly flight paths between 33,000 and 39,000 feet, flying odd numbers east and even numbers west. Military reserves airspace use above the 40,000 feet separator. It's too soon to declare the owners, origins of these objects, and definitely premature to associate them with unidentified aerial phenomena as we know it. It's just too soon. But the flurry of coverage, announcements surrounding their discovery, let alone the seeming chaos as well as NORAD's involvement, is interesting to say the least, let alone listening to the intriguing nomenclature used by the Pentagon and the media to describe them, only serving to confuse matters more, like unidentified spherical object, unidentified cylindrical objects, and my favorite hands down, unidentified aerial objects, morphing UFOs with UAPs, perhaps appropriately. But it's not the first time there's been a media flurry and government response to unidentified cylindrical objects in sensitive airspace. And some were even caught on camera, looking more than suspicious, of unknown origin, displaying no signs of propulsion, yet having familiar features like ailerons and bright red paint that makes them frankly less than ominous looking. Yet they remain unidentified to this day. Shortly after 8:40 p.m. on July 7, 2010, a commercial airliner on approach to Hangzhou Xiaoshan International Airport in China, serving the eastern province of Zhejiang, was suddenly denied landing, told to do a go-around, and then ultimately diverted to the nearby airport of Ningbo. The reason was the air traffic control tower's concern over possible mid-air collision with an unidentified cylindrical object hovering stationary above the airport and moving to different positions, blocking approach and takeoffs, changing positions, putting itself in the way of approaching traffic as well as takeoff traffic. The ATC concerns were serious enough to prompt a shutdown of the entire airport, both takeoffs and landings, essentially putting this busy international airport on a temporary lockdown over fear of collision with a UFO. The airport remained closed for almost an hour, between 8:45 p.m. and 9:41 p.m., while the object remained both stationary as well as making a circular movement around the airport area, leaving a trail caught on camera earlier in the evening. It would be easy to dismiss this as contrail if it weren't for its low altitude and the corroborating photographic evidence of the object. An airport authority spokesperson also confirmed that many passengers just landed and off their planes confirmed the sighting of the object from their windows on approach to the airport, and he was quite open and frank that they would have to wait for the results of the investigation, speculating up front that the full truth might never be known. Before air traffic control returned to normal, 6 takeoffs had been delayed and 12 landing flights had been redirected to adjacent airports. This incident got a lot of media attention. It made the news and was aired on television in China and around the world, and the Chinese aviation authorities were immediately transparent about this event. ATC saw it and had visual confirmation from the tower. Approaching airliners saw it and filmed it, and civilians at and around the airport saw it too. People filmed it and photographed it from neighborhood streets, making it a well-documented incident with multiple corroborating evidence, human observations, photographic evidence, and radar recordings. Eyewitness testimony kept accruing for days following the July 7th incident, and it wasn't just the 8:40 p.m. event alone anymore. Hours earlier, residents of Hangzhou had photographed a strange object from multiple angles, hovering over the city, bathed in golden light. Comparing the light and structure of the craft suggests they saw the exact same craft over the city hours before it appeared over the airport, doing loops and stopping on a dime. One resident, Ma Zhijun, described, quote, a bright white light flying across the sky and feeling a beam of light shining right over my head, end quote. Stories circulated this was a U.S. bomber or a U.S.-made missile or a drone capable of slow flight on a spying mission over the city and over China in general, in particular when spotted over Inner Mongolia months later on October 6, 2010, where again an airport had to be shut down due to hovering cylindrical craft with many portals as described by an air traffic controller. Many theorized it was a top-secret Chinese military craft, while majority defaulted to the explanation that this had to be a non-human intelligently controlled craft, that a hovering technology without propulsion simply wasn't known to man. It is well understood that mainstream acceptance of unexplained phenomena is more advanced in China than many other parts of the world. Comparing the photographs and the video from a variety of vantage points clearly reveals this to be the same craft. And that is not all. This craft has been seen around the world. It closely resembles other videos shot over Paris in 1999 and again in 2015, and over another airport in China on August 29, 2015. A cylindrical object was filmed from an aircraft that I speculate reveals the same craft in unbelievable clarity, with portals on the sides that closely resembles those shot in 2010. And while many explain this craft away as a blimp, with red ailerons even, and there is no sign of this craft having hot air or gas compartment that enables a blimp to float. The sighting on October 6th in Inner Mongolia was echoed 5 years later off the Gold Coast of Australia in 2014, where a craft revealed itself to be an exact match to the one seen in China 5 years earlier. The Chinese aviation authorities sent a team of investigators to the airport, collaborating with the long-established Beijing UFO Research Society, the Chinese equivalent of MUFON, led by Professor Zhang Yifan, a physics professor at Kunming University. And the incident was thoroughly documented, with eyewitness testimony recorded, electronic surveillance data collected, and video and photographic recordings acquired from the airport authority as well as from the civil population. Eventually, almost a year later, the official Chinese government issued a shutdown-type conclusion to the investigation, stating that this was a wayward military test that in the end posed no threat to civilians. Just like that, the event was shut down. There was no admission to the existence of a secret craft hovering over the airport, no, just that the event was a military test. It's a dismissal explanation for sure, but in context of recent sightings identifying octagonal objects in controlled airspace and their likely accidental association with the now identified encounter with a Chinese surveillance balloon over North Carolina, while understandable, this geopolitical ping-pong, no pun intended, is just not helpful and must be overcome. When it comes to genuine unexplained phenomena, sharing information across geopolitical boundaries is paramount to solving the riddle and finding the truth. You can watch and listen to this and other podcasts on Project Bluebook, where we explore all things unidentified. Each day, let's practice compassion and kindness. And please subscribe. I am Thor, and thanks for tuning in. See you next time.